In some specific cases, if a tenant in Ontario has received an eviction order from the Landlord and Tenant Board, some legal steps described in the Residential Tenancies Act could apply that can allow them to preserve their tenancy.
A motion to set aside is a form that a tenant can file when they disagree with a ex parte order that has been issued for their eviction.
This comes into play in circumstances like if a tenant breached the terms of an agreement or order that was mediated between the landlord and tenant.
For example, I own a dog. I have been forgetting to pick up after her. We go to, the Landlord Tenant Board and we say, I've agreed to be very vigilant to pick up after my dog while on the residential complex.
The agreement usually has a term of 1 year. During that time, if the landlord believes the tenant did not keep up their end of the bargain, they have the right to file for an eviction without giving the tenant notice.
All the tenant would receive was a copy of the order granting the eviction.
The tenant could then file the motion to set aside if they want to dispute the eviction order.
And I read it over and it says, on March 20th, Monica failed to pick up after her dog. But I know for a fact I wasn't actually even in town March 20th.
Moran Venegas says if a motion to set aside is filed, the LTB will issue an interim order which will include a stay of the eviction. An LTB hearing will then be scheduled where the tenant can state their position.
There is no communication freeway between the Landlord Tenant Board and the Court Enforcement Office, which is the sheriff, and they do the actual evicting. So I always recommend that once you get this stay, to immediately send it to the landlord and to immediately call the sheriff, your local sheriff's office.
Tenants should also inform the sheriff when they file a motion to void. This is used when an eviction order was issued for not paying rent, but the tenant was able to void it by paying all outstanding dues before the eviction was enforced by the sheriff.
Essentially, they're saying, yes, I was behind, I paid it all, and I want you to void this order that it doesn't exist anymore.
She adds that even though by law paying all rental arrears voids the eviction notice automatically, it is important to file the motion to ensure that there is proof.
Maybe the sheriff's on their way, but you've paid before the sheriff arrives. You can still be evicted. So it's important to let everyone know that you've paid everything, but especially the sheriff.
Moran Venegas adds that tenants could reach out to their local community legal clinic for help with these processes. Dilshad Burman, City News.